This is the Celestial Herald, which is a build that I actually made before they buffed Celestial many years ago. And so if you're going to ask if it's still viable after the Celestial nerf, it sure is, because this build relies on burst damage, which is not going to take that much of a hit from the boon duration reduction or the concentration reduction. So this is a very good build for like a bursty playstyle that does tons of damage from sigils and from legend swapping. And then it also has the new spear weapon, which allows you to kite and to set up burst combos using CC from the Spear 4. So let's just get straight into the build. So I go for the Celestial stats with the Rune of Tormenting. Torment is our main damage source, so we still want to increase the duration of that, but since we don't need all of the other conditions to be that much longer in duration, we're going to make up for the loss of condition duration from Celestial nerf right here. And so the Mace Axe, we want the Geomancy and Hydromancy sigils. This is going to be swapped off cooldown every 9 seconds, and because of how Revenants work, we can essentially swap 4 sigils in every 9-second cooldown because of how the Legend Stance swaps our sigils, and then we can swap weapon afterwards. So you always want to swap legends and then swap weapon, and that'll give you the quadra swap effect. Now on the spear, we've got Doom and Cleansing. We need some extra cleansing because this build doesn't have that much of it, though they have buffed the Herald to give you cleanse on the F2. And we've also got the Permeating Pestilence trait, which will copy conditions on you and transfer them to enemies. So we get a decent amount of condition cleanse there, and because of that, we're going to take the Relic of Nyos to make up for some of the sustain that we're losing, because we're not going for Salvation, which is a very high sustain trait line. We're going for the full burst from Corruption and Invocation. And in Invocation, we're going to get plenty of hybrid damage. In Corruption, we're going to get plenty of condition damage. And that's just all going to overload the enemy before they can basically cleanse, and they're just going to die because we're just going to follow through with the damage. Now, because we want to be using our legend swap and weapon swap around the same time as each other, it means that we're going to pair up certain legends with certain weapons. So that's going to be the spear with the Glint Stance usually, and the Shiro with the Mace. And this is because the Mace generally lacks the mobility, so we're going to get that from the Reposting Shadows and the Phase Traversal, and this is just the more aggressive weapon anyways. And then in the Spear, we have a lot of combos that we can do from range, and this works very well with the Faceted Elements and the other CC combos that we can kind of like set up and then swap to our Mace with. So let's just go over some of the combos. Now, Faceted Elements is going to lay down a pulsing damage pulse. You want to get that third hit there. So what we often want to do is use the Spear 4 and immediately Faceted Elements and then Abyssal Raise. And that's going to give us a blind as well because this is a dark field. So we're going to do this. And then the 5, we get the blindness there, and you can see all these conditions while they're getting chunked by that Faceted Elements. And then from there we can do the 2. So that's kind of like the main combo you want to do in the Spear is 4 into Faceted Elements into the 5. Now the Spear skill is also really good for kiting because it leaves behind these little virus looking things, and those will give chill, they will give weakness, and they will give slow to the targets, which also, by the way, chill gives us torment. So when we're kiting people, always use it away from the target. Try not to use it toward the target because it makes it a lot easier to play around when you dodge towards someone than away, because then you have the ability to like bait people through choke points, right? Like you just run through here and then you leave your mines behind you and they have to follow through, and they're just going to lose their dodges because they have to dodge through them. So it's useful when using away from the enemy usually. But yeah, the combo there, 4 passive elements into 5 and then 2. Then we've got the Chaotic Release, which we can do as well to knock them back. And then we can 5 while they're CC'd from that, because the 5 skill is our most important skill to land. And if we land it 3 times, we can then swap to our Mace and cause another effect. And that's going to give us tons of torment. So if you're getting all of these CC combos off and it's helping you to land your Spear 5, you're going to get rewarded with a huge torment burst. And that's increased in damage as well because of the trait Acolyte of Torment. And we're just going to do a ton of damage. Now, In the Mace, we can't really use the Jade Winds too often because this is a lot of energy. We generally want to use the Riposting Shadows or the Phase Traversal. Now, Phase Traversal is very aggressive, it gives you some quickness, but generally I like to save my energy for Riposting Shadows because that's going to give us a lot more survivability. And mind you, the Spear is a very heavy, it takes a lot of energy resource, so it works very well with the Glint Stance because Glint doesn't take any energy to activate the facets, and so that gives us a lot more room to use the Spear abilities. And while we're in Shiro, sure, the Mace abilities have some cost to them, but they're generally pretty low. 5 here, and then 4, and the 4 skill has 10, and then the 5 skill has 10. So we generally are just using all of our Shiro stuff, and then the 2 and 3 here. And so the combo that we want to generally do is CC them, and then we want to do 2-3 on the Mace. So the 5 skill is pretty nice. We can do that into the 2-3, and then we can use our F2 and consume it, which will give us lifesteal from then on, and it'll remove boons. So I generally like to do that unless you really need condition cleanse. And from there you can just use impossible odds, like when you're right about to run out of energy, say we're going to just spam our energy like this. You always want to use up every last bit of your energy, and before you swap, just use that impossible odds, swap, and then always swap on top of that target because you're going to be getting the sigils to swap on them. And you're getting the sigil of Geomancy and Hydromancy in your Mace there. So always swap in melee range on the Mace, and then you can swap from the Mace out, right? Because if we swap Legend, we're going to get that trigger, and then we can swap out and we have the Doom Sigil on the Spear, which is range, so we can get that poison. So you can see a lot of conditions on the target from that. So another combo that we can do is the Engage combo. So we're going to start with the Shiro stance, and then we're going to port in and use our Mace skills. So we're going to go in with the Phase Traversal, and then just immediately use our Mace combo on top of them. So we can do this. It's 2, 5, and then we're going to swap on top of them and swap to the Spear, and then we can use the Spear 2 and 4, and then from there we can use another Spear combo with the 4 into the passive elements, into the 2 again, and then we can knock them back into the 5 and then swap on top of them, and you can kind of see the rotation, right? So now we're in Shiro again, and we can start over the combo. So let's just show that again. So we're going to start from here, we're going to port in, do our Mace skills. Remember, you have 2 Mace 3s that you can use, so we can do the Mace 3 twice, swap, use the Spear 2, set up our next combo. Maybe we'll give them some, vulnerability and some blind here, or save it for a stun break, and then we set up our next combo into the passive elements and the 5 skill, then use the Spear 2 again. Maybe we'll kite a little bit, use the chaos element, and then from there, while they're stunned, we're going to swap on top of them. And that's just pretty much the combos right there. So that's it in a nutshell. But obviously, this is not going to work in all situations because enemies are going to fight you back. And so this is where the difficulty of the build is, because it's actually easy to play the build to kill things, but hard to play the build to survive. So we're going to be showing how this works in a real scenario. So here's a situation where I am going to jump on this Untamed who is sieging my castle here. We're going to immediately do our burst combo, and you can see they basically get down. They use their heal skill, so I have to back off, use my Riposting Shadows to get back, and I'm going to do another combo here with the Spear 4 into 5, and use the F2 there to get some lifesteal while I'm cleaving the down, and just spamming the Spear 5 because I can do it so easily on down targets because they're not moving, so I don't need to combo. And then we're going to swap immediately to get the extra combo there, and you can see I got so much damage from doing the Spear 5 3 times and hitting it on the down body that I just deleted that Harbinger as well. And now I've got a Mechanist on me, I swap while on top of them, and I transfer a bunch of conditions, and they're going to go down. So you can see you just kill people randomly by just swapping Legend, because there are so many triggers from the sigils and the Legend swaps that you just kind of kill people if you're next to them and you just swap on top of them. So this build does a lot of damage, but you playing against more experienced people, you need to do CC combos to actually land that damage. Now here's another situation where I'm going into a group of enemies And it looks like a bunch of Asuras. So the Squirtle squad has arrived. I'm going to use my burst combo, but I can't really see a kill being obtained anytime soon in there. So I'm just going to try to lure them away and try to hit them with the Spear 5 while I'm kiting them. Because it's very hard to hit enemies who are moving around in a different direction, but very easy to hit them when they're moving in one direction. And so I'm kiting them in one direction so that I can kind of like gauge the speed that they're moving at, and therefore very easily land the Spear 5. Now I have a ton of Condis on me, but the Pestilence of the Corruption trait there cleanses them a lot, and my Cleansing Sigil, and we're able to land a nice combo from the Spear 4 and 5 while I'm running. And you can see this bridge is a very bad place for them to be running across, because it just makes it so easy for me to land my Spear abilities. Now the Spear 5 going to go down there again. I've lost all the stacks though because I haven't hit anyone. I'm leaving my Spear 4 here so that I can use it in a combo, so I'm ready. I use the Spear 4, but they port past it, and therefore I miss most of my damage. So I have to back off. I'm using Reposting Shadows to dodge backwards, Spear 3 to just keep kiting, and we're going to probably look for a target to port. Yeah, the Salamander Drake here. Want to port to that so we can just kind of reset, because we didn't really land our burst there. They ported through it, and so we didn't get the counter pressure we needed. So now we're in our Spear set with the Shiro Stance. Now obviously if you're in a situation where you're constantly outnumbered, you're going to be camping the Spear more often because it's a better kiting weapon, and we've got our energy, or rather our Cleansing Sigil on it. So that's going to give us a lot more sustain by just camping the Spear. But when we do get a situation where we can just blast the enemy with a combo, we're going to immediately swap to the Mace. So I'm just camping the Spear here, even though normally I'm not really using it with Shiro. I use a Spear 3 there to get some kind of like debilitating conditions to get them off me while we're running this way. And I don't really have a CC besides my Chaotic Release here, so I'm going to wait for that. Or I see that I can port to this Mesmer over here, and they're a little bit split off from the team, so I'm going to do my combo there. They get hit by the Spear 4 and 5, but they port away, and they're near their allies now, so I'm going to back off and wait for some energy. It's always nice to have energy in Shiro Stance, so we're going to wait for that. And there's no valid path, so I'm going to also get to a valid path here. Land the Spear 4 again, pull them all in, and I've got my Spear 5 ready to use on them because they're down. But I'm just going to swap to my Mace and Axe here, because I can also just put the Mace 2 on the down body. I see that I can do another combo here with the Chaotic Release into the Mace 2 and 3. And now I'm going to swap to my Spear and just do another combo. So you can see it's all around doing those combos when your Legend swap is off cooldown, because you're going to get your Sigil swap while they're CC'd, and you're going to get your other like combo skills like the Spear 5 and the Mace 2 and 3 while they're CC'd as well. And it's just going to do so much damage that if they can't cleanse that immediately, and there's going to be a lot of conditions on them because you're swapping Legends with like, you know, vulnerability and chill and sometimes blind, they're in a lot of cases not going to be able to cleanse that after multiple combos. So that's pretty much the idea of the build. If you do like this content, as usual, please like the video, subscribe for more. I will see you all next time.